You're just making the day.
Oh, that's good. Carla Hall, welcome to All You Can Eat. It's the podcast about deliciousness.
It's about deliciousness. Can I show you some deliciousness while we're at it?
All right. Let me make that go away a little bit. You know, I noticed somewhere that was your song, and I got to say that I have many times played that song because that's one of the great food songs in history.
Yes. Booker T and the MGs.
Booker T and the MGs, exactly right. Again, thanks for coming on to All You Can Eat. Let's talk deliciousness. It's great to see you again and have you back. Where have I found you? Where in the world are you?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Do you live in D.C.?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Are you happy in D.C.?
I'll be even happier. So, no, yes, I am happy. No, I'm very happy in D.C.
Yeah, it's fine. I get the picture. Trust me.
I'm very happy here.
Trust me. I feel the same way. But you know me. I like to start in the beginning. You're from Nashville. What did you eat growing up, and who made it?
I was eating. Well, Sunday supper was very much a part of growing up, and after church, my mom, my sister, and I would go to my grandmother's house in Lebanon, Tennessee, which was about 30 miles away.
Right.
And one of the dishes that I love from my grandmother is her cornbread.
Right.
I loved having her smothered pork chops, which she would start cooking right after her rolled oats early in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And they would just cook really slowly, and they would be fork tender and so delicious. We would have greens. I also remember my grandmother making pickles, which I love. I love a good pucker, so I love sour. So she would make pickles, but quick pickles. But then she would have tomatoes and cucumbers in white vinegar, a little bit of water, sugar and salt, with dill. And she would always peel her tomatoes. And I didn't think anything of it until I got to cooking school. And it was all about the concassé and peeling the tomatoes.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny because I cook. I'm lazy, and out by me at the farm they sell what they call what do they call them? They sell blems. They call them. They're like a big box of blemished tomatoes. And you can, and so I get them and I make tomato sauce and gazpacho and all that. But I'm too lazy to. And I'm also a graduate of professional cooking school. I'm too lazy to do the peeling, so I just kind of throw it all in. Do you think it makes a fundamental difference?
No, I think that when you have a food meal, if you're making your tomato sauce and you have a food meal, the skins stay behind anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
But they have so much flavor in them. There's so much flavor in the stems of the tomatoes as well as the skins.
Tell the folks. I know that I've asked you before, but now we're for real. So tell the folks about Nashville hot chicken. What's that, and why to be excited about it?
From the Thornton family, and the lore is when this recipe came about when a woman was a scorned woman, and so Prince Thornton. Was coming home on a Sunday. She's like, okay, I'm going to make something that's going to burn you twice. It's going to burn your lips. And then later on, when you're expelling it, it's going to burn you again.
Burn on both ends, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to burn you on both ends. And so she made this really hot chicken. And she got the last laugh because he liked it so much that he continued to make it. So Prince's chicken came about like I want to say in the 30s. But it is a fried chicken. And then it is tossed in a hot oil. And then some people make it where they actually put the spice in the flour or the dredge. But traditionally, the oil that you fried in, you reserve some of that oil, you put spices in it, and you toss the chicken in that spiced oil.
I was recently down south, and I made a decision as one of my sides to have cheesy grits. Now, mm-hmm. Northerners I don't get did you eat grits growing up a lot, and do you love them?
I love grits. I do not love cheesy grits.
Right. What is the thing about grits? I mean, it's essentially it's cornmeal, it's polenta, right? I mean, but there's something just so kind of luxurious, homey, comforty about it. No?
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, yes, it's corn. So, but grits is ground very differently than
Oh,
polenta. So polenta is finely ground and stone ground, and it's finer, and it's a cold process. Um, and grits, which comes from grist, there's a whole big story. And I was reading this book on grits, which is fascinating. But I love grits and for breakfast, and we would have sugar in our grits, sugar and butter. So we would turn it into a cereal like cream
nice.
of wheat or oatmeal.
Right.
Of course, for some people, that's like no. Um, and then you can have them savory, which I think of grits like one would think of risotto because you can make them any way that you want.
Right, right. By the way, I mean, I wasn't planning on getting into this level of specificity on breakfast foods, but I do the same thing with oatmeal. I mean, for my whole life,
Yes.
but my whole life, oatmeal was, brown sugar, cinnamon, whatever. Then all of a sudden, I discovered somehow that you could make it savory. I put in dry mustard, ancho chili powder,
Ah,
olive oil, whatever, and the next thing you know, with a runny fried egg on top, hello, that's a beautiful meal right there.
it is beautiful. Have you ever been to the oatmeal restaurant in New York?
No, I have to say no. Unfortunately, I have not.
It is that's all they serve, and I love oatmeal. I could probably talk for 30 minutes straight just about oatmeal.
Well,
I love it.
if I have a chance to get you back, we'll do 30 minutes on oatmeal.
Yes.
I'm a big fan too. I wrote a cookbook, and one of the first recipes in my cookbook was oatmeal brulee. I literally took the blood
Oh,
and I browned the sugar on top, and kids love that.
Rob. Yes. Okay, you're giving me another reason for which to love you.
I haven't even started. But thank you. I really and I love you back. By the way, I was on the phone a little while ago. I said I got to run off. What are you doing? I'm going to have a conversation with Carla Hall, my favorite. Wait, tell me. So you trust me when I tell you that I love you right back. Where did Hootie Who come from? What's that about?
Hootie Who is a two-part call that my husband and I do. And I did it on Top Chef, but when we were finding each other in the grocery store, when we were separated, he would go Hootie, and the other person say Who, here I am.
Right.
And then when we come in, and I didn't want to get into the particulars and let people know how weird I am or we are, but when one person would come home, the person that's opening the door, Hootie, the other person would say Who, and then that person at the door would say Boo-doo, and it would say Boo-doo.
I love it. Listen, if people were going to be honest, everybody would have some story to tell about themselves that would be like that, like our own
Yes.
special, languages. In fact, by the way, and again, I'm kind of deviating from what I thought would be a normal kind of stream of consciousness question and answer thing. But I think part of the thing that makes you so special, and again, this is me, but for what it's worth, is the genuineness of it. I think that people are attracted to other people, especially in your field, especially when you're in front of a lot of people, because they sense in you an authenticity, a genuineness. So that's my little hello to you. Hello.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I honestly feel like I can't take the time to present what I want you to see. I honestly, in an interview, I'm going to give you exactly what I feel in the moment. It may not be the popular thing. I will tell you when I stink. I will tell you what my fears are. And I think it's empowering for people to know that everybody has these moments, whether the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
And I'm not above it.
Switching gears here now, you grow up in Nashville. You have some food that you love, but then you end up in a job as an accountant for a couple of years. You don't love that.
I do not love that. I loved studying accounting. I love numbers. I love puzzles. I love spreadsheets. I love the organization of it.
Right.
but I don't like the culture. For me, I didn't like the culture of being at a desk and just looking at a computer.
Right.
I do not love.
So you got
And
kind
so
of
I'm a
lucky.
recovered.
Well, I mean, you got lucky because you got out early. How did it become about food for you?
Well, as one would do, they quit their regular good paying accounting job and then you go to Paris and then you start modeling. And,
Nice.
as one would do. And it was over there that, again, the Sunday suppers, now this time it's with models and it's with a woman who is from Memphis, Tennessee. And it was just wonderful. And food, actually, without realizing it, saved me again, because it's the socialization that happens,
Right.
Around food and with friends and family. And so this woman, oh my God, Evans. Oh my God, why am I forgetting her first name? But she was Elaine Evans would make all of this delicious food. And I was missing home. So just coming together, and a lot of the women were Black and they were from New York and New Jersey. So we were making buffalo wings and macaroni. That's the royal we. I was not cooking at the time. They were making buffalo wings and greens and macaroni and cheese. And then they started this conversation about how the macaroni was made in their family. And I realized I had no idea. Something that I had eaten pretty much once a week in my entire life. I had no idea. And so I started buying cookbooks, and that's when it all started. And just in thanking my friends for letting me sleep on their couch in the couch surfing arena, I just, as gratitude, I started cooking, and I just kept doing it.
What are you cooking these days? What's in the fridge? Like, what do you like? So here's the thing. I'm going to ask you two pandemic lockdown related questions. Because I hear Paris and I think to myself, I've traveled a lot. One of the things that I miss the most over the last year is kind of being able to go somewhere. We'll get to that in a second, but it means that there's a lot more cooking at home for most all of us. What are you cooking these days?
Well, in the beginning of the pandemic, we were doing a lot of air fried chicken and easy things, pastas, soup, salads, even though it was around March, we were doing all of that. And I was baking a lot. I was baking. I wasn't making the biscuits and the banana bread and the sourdough, but I was just I was making biscuits. I wasn't making banana bread. And I realized that I wasn't moving as much. And that's when I started that little 10-minute recess. But then my husband started working with a trainer, and I was like, okay, 2 weeks later, I'll do this too, because I was gaining so much weight, like a lot of people. So my meals, surprisingly, are very simple. And I do like 6 meals a day. Oatmeal is one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we eat a lot of like egg whites and fish and chicken and rice and vegetables. But it was always my challenge to change like the meals. That was the chicken, the rice, and the vegetables. Right. I'm like, okay, I can do stir fry. Okay, I can do raw Brussels sprouts, adding citrus and herbs. And so I started talking to the people in our group. I'm like, are you eating that bad food? Can't you? You have to change it, because it's not sustainable if it's nasty. So our meals have been pretty plain, except for the holidays, but it's been really fun playing with the food and keeping it in a certain parameter.
It's funny that you mentioned the air fryer in there, because I gave a cooking class online last night, and one of the things I mentioned was that I am not only the Costco hoe. I'm at Costco. I was pre-pandemic. I was there once a week, and they sell two either organic or kosher chickens at a time. So I roast the chicken every single week, and I ever since I purchased my air fryer, brand irrelevant, because as long as it works, it works. Ever since I purchased my air fryer, I have not turned my oven on to roast the chicken since. I put the entire chicken in there. I'm a garlic and lemon guy with, maybe some seasoned salt, and boom, an hour later, that thing is. Are you finding that also?
It is so good. And Costco has really great chicken. They have great fish. Actually, the box stores have really great chicken and fish. And I don't think people realize it's such a great deal, and it's sustainable fish too. So yes. And I got some delicious lamb from Sam's Club. that was so, so good. And I used the air fryer. I threw the like half of garlic cloves, the oil on it. I threw some rosemary in there, and it
Right.
was ready in like my chops, and I cut them in half. They were ready in 8 minutes.
Yeah, I have no stake in this thing, but I love the machine. I just do. It's been really working hard. What have you what has been the advantage? So the lockdown obviously has. I mean, I hear about Paris. I think about restaurants and all of those people that are out of work. I don't want to get into the sad here, but what
Mm-hmm.
has been kind of, has there been an upside to the pandemic? Have you ever been able to do things or spend time doing other things that you might not have been able to do had we not been in this situation?
I do appreciate you looking at the upside to this. I mean, if there's a downside, there's always the opposite.
Good.
And I think the power of the pivot, I think just creatively looking to see how you can change your status. I've had to be my own producer in terms of content that people have been asking me to do and put out. I have hustled and approached companies with the help of my really small team about finding creative ways to do content, which we've produced in-house, which I would have never done. And I pretty much built a little studio. Here, I'm going to show you in my kitchen. So you can see over here,
Oh, nice.
I've got my lights, I've got my cameras, my
Yep.
tripods, and just in figuring that out, and I don't know if I would have done that unless I needed to do
Unless
it.
you had to, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've loved that. I've loved actually, and I know the Zoom calls can be an eye roll, but I've really enjoyed talking to my mom on Zoom and like cooking with her on Zoom, which I would have never done.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, and I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I mean, my mother also, just to be able to get her onto a Zoom, you know what I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
now know how to do that and whatever. That has been kind of the good news, and the time that you get, I guess, to spend with people at least close by.
Yeah, you know what else we did? When the pandemic first started and the grocery stores were shut down and you had to stand in line, we were walking, my husband and I, Matthew, we were walking a lot more around the neighborhood
Right.
and we would just go for walks and people were out on their porches. And so we actually got to know our neighbors. We've become very close to our
Nice.
neighbors and they wouldn't have been at home.
Right.
So that has been really, really nice. And so when I'm making food for the Food Network Kitchen, when I'm doing these events and these classes, and I have another one today, and it's going to be a cake, which is not part of my plan. I divide them up and give them to my neighbors. I just don't
Right.
knock on their door because now we have that relationship.
Sweet. Well, that's actually a really good segue to the kind of the charity work that you're doing, because one of the kind of sad realities of America at the moment has to do with food insecurity. How many people don't
Mm-hmm.
get enough food? And I know, and I've actually blasted it out through my channels, that the work that you're doing with Feeding America. .org. So let's take the minute to tell the folks how they might contribute to the work that you're doing with, I want to say, Gateway to Giving campaign with Chase and United
Yes.
Airlines. Let's go ahead and spend a minute on that.
Yeah, so I think people, hungry or hunger doesn't have a face. I mean, you and I could be the face of hunger and food insecurity. And so I joined this campaign ever since cooking school. I've been working with Feeding America. So it's a passion of mine and a lot of other chefs to give back where we find the most joy. And that is to work with soup kitchens and to work with food banks. And so I joined this campaign because United is donating up to $700,000, which makes 7 million meals,
Nice.
to given back to Feeding America. And so I can go into the grocery store and use my card and purchase food to donate. If you can't donate food, you can donate money. You can tell people where the food banks are in your neighborhood. So I think that there are things to do, ways to give, and ways to get involved that don't involve heavy lifting. And so for me, I've just been donating money and food.
All right, so it's Chase, it's United Airlines, it's feedingamerica.org, and it's an opportunity to help people who need a little help with getting some food on the table.
Yeah, that's right.
One other positive on the pandemic side is the binge watching. What kind of shows are you watching?
So I watched Dark. I watched The Queen's Gambit.
Yep.
I watched, as the list goes on, I watched the Valhalla stories, Valhalla murders. What is it? Oh my God. The woman, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Ratched.
Yes.
So Ratched.
Sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I've been watching the Great British Bake Off.
Of course.
Oh my God! The other show that I've been into as well, because we're getting our house redone, is Windy City Rehab.
Gotcha. How about a little lightning round here? You could have dinner with someone, dead or alive. Who you going to dine with?
I'm going to dine with both of my grandmothers because I want to cook and show them, hey, look what
I could do.
Look what I've learned since you've been gone.
Very good. Best advice you've ever received?
Again, my grandmother, it is your job to be happy, not to be rich.
Dig. If you were stuck, deserted on an island, you're on a deserted island, what 3 ingredients would you really want to have?
Lemon, salt, dill.
I think that really speaks volumes to how important flavor is in your life. And the underratedness of the citrus, I could not agree more. I'm telling you, I'm doing the class last night, and I said to them, look, you need to understand something, that there's a concept in food. It's called brightening. So much of what we have is a little heavy on the palate, and the easiest way to do it is with an acidic agent. Speaking of which, do you still do oil pulling?
Oh my gosh, I don't. You know what? It's so funny, Rob, that you're mentioning that. I thought about it yesterday. I said, I need to get back to oil pulling. Have you done it?
I might have done it one time in my life, and I'm not averse to it. It's just that I don't seem to be good on habit.
Right. I know. You're probably a 7 in the Enneagram. You're probably a 7 because we're all over the place. And so yes. I can sustain something for a while, and then I just fall off. And then,
yeah. My cooking process can be identified in 6 words: most taste, fewest ingredients, least effort. You mentioned chicken wings before, but if I said to you, Carla, we got to make something, we got to give people an idea how to get the most taste with the fewest ingredients and the least effort, what would you propose?
Honestly, okay, the air fried chicken.
Yeah.
Would be one. Honestly, okay. This may surprise you. Cereal, dry cereal. Add malt to the milk. Like malted milk powder to your milk, and like some dehydrated fruit. It just changes. I love dry cereal.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure it surprises me, but what I'm so pleased with was I was about to say, wouldn't that be great with some dried cherries in it? And you beat me to the punch. I can't even believe it. Now, your time is valuable, and I never know when, how often the technology will cut us off. So I'm going to conclude, even though we could go on forever. I
love talking to you.
I love talking to you more, trust me. Although, by the way, you'll get a kick out of this. Last time we spoke, within a day, I get on a call with Andrew Zimmern, and I happen to mention your name, and he goes, "Oh, I just spoke to Carla this morning."
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Yeah.
And I'll be talking to him tomorrow too. So
send him my best. He also is doing lovely, charitable, beautiful things for people. Really, a special guy. As are you. My final question I steal from my old friend Gene Siskel, and it goes like this: what do you know for sure?
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's so funny because last time I had something right on the tip of my tongue.
Yes, you did.
And
Great. Sorry.
that was me in the moment then. I know for sure that my next meal will be delicious.
Well, as I like to conclude everything I do, life is short. Never waste a meal.
Yes, and so it is.
So I once again, always a treat to spend time with you. Thank you for doing this. And if you need anything, I'm easy to reach, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Oh, thank you so much, Rob. You are such a gem. I really appreciate it.
Not as much as I appreciate you doing this, and I look forward to whenever the day comes that we can actually meet again in person.
Likewise.
Thank
All
you, my
right.
dear.
Have
Be
a
well.
great one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.